I want to talk to you about IRS Form Schedule 1 line by line instructions. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous if you were to ask me. Today, I want to talk to you about IRS Form Schedule 1. And I want you to understand additional income and adjustment to income. That's what Schedule 1 is for. And we have the link of that schedule on the IRS website. So you can see it on the screen right now. And before I start, what is Schedule 1? This is actually a tax form that you need to attach to your federal tax return, right? The Form 1040. If you have certain types of income, or let's say you have certain expenses that the federal government allows you to exclude from your taxable income. So, and this is kind of cool because it all helps to find a lower adjusted gross income, your AGI, because this is necessary for finding how much federal income tax you actually have to pay. So the first part of Schedule 1 looks at additional income. And basically, this is all income that is not bank interest, investment dividends, or wages reported on a W-2 form. And these three types of income, bank interest, investment dividends, and wages, are written directly on Form 1040. Okay, so common examples of additional income are business income, rental income, and unemployment compensation. And the rest of the form, I will show you the rest of the form later on, but I'm just giving you the overview here. And the rest of the form looks at adjustment to income. So an adjustment, really, if you think about it, it's money you spend during the year that the federal government allows you to exclude from your taxable income. And some adjustments are called tax deductions, like the student loan interest deductions. And other adjustments just consider specific expenses, like alimony payments, for example. And speaking about alimony payments, let's just talk in general about who needs to use Schedule 1. Schedule 1 is not necessary, and I repeat, it is not necessary for all tax filers. But the cool thing here is that many people will need it. And there are two reasons why you might use Schedule 1. Option 1, you have income that is not reported directly on Form 1040. Option 2, you have one of the 12 types of expenses that the federal government allows you to exclude from your taxable income. And those 12 types of expenses are called adjustments to income. I'll give them to you very quickly. I will list them in a few minutes. But one thing I want to say in general here is that yes, those are the only two options, the only two scenarios where you use Schedule 1. The question is that what kind of income can you report on Schedule 1? Now, income reported on the 1040 only includes, as I said earlier, salaries and wages reported to you on a W-2 form, bank interest reported to you on a Form 1099.int or another interest form, as well as investment dividends reported to you on Form 1099-div or other dividend reporting form. Now, the thing here is that Schedule K1 actually allows you to report the following types of income. We're going to put them on the screen so you can see it. So you have tax refunds and credits for states and local income taxes. Alimony you received if the alimony agreement took effect before 2019. Business income or loss. Gains or loss from the sale of or trade of business property, including real estate. Rental income, royalty payments, trust income, and income from a partnership or S corporation. You also report on Schedule 1 farm income and unemployment benefits. So other types of income that you actually report on Schedule K1 include, Schedule 1 include miscellaneous income such as awards, canceled debts, or dividends from a whole life insurance policy if they exceed the premiums you paid for the policy. Now, folks, what I'm trying to say here is that obviously, if you file your taxes through a tax software, or you file your taxes on the internet online, you don't need to really understand the subtleties of this. But it's always good to understand what's really going behind closed doors, what's going on behind your taxes. So if you understand the concept, then you can act, because the software is just doing things for you based on the questions and answers that you enter into the system. But you need to understand what each form, each schedule is about, so you can actually optimize your taxes, your tax planning, and reduce your liabilities, your tax debt. So now let me talk to you about the 12 types of expenses that the IRS allows you, the federal government allows you to claim on Schedule K1. So you have educator expenses on classroom supplies, up to $250. Business expenses for fee-based government officials, performing artists, and reservists, members of the military reserve forces who traveled more than 100 miles to perform reserve services. Number 3, health saving accounts, HSA, contributions you made with post-tax money. Number 4, moving expenses for active duty members of the U.S. Armed Forces. Number 5, half of the self-employment tax. Number 6, retirement account contributions for the self-employed and small business owners. Number 7, the cost of health insurance premiums, including dental and long-term care insurance for self-employed workers. So if you are a sole proprietorship, you will be interested in this. You also have penalties for the early withdrawal of savings, like in a certificate of deposit. As you all know, if you have a CD, let's say you have a CD for 6 months and you take the money before the 6-month period, the bank will charge you, but you can actually deduct this charges on your tax return through Schedule one, not K1. And alimony you paid if the alimony agreement took effect before 2019. That's an expense you can actually use to adjust income. Contributions to a traditional IRA using money you already paid income tax on. Interest on student loans up to $2,500. Tuition and fee expenses for you, a spouse or a dependent. Now, one thing I want to say here is that the amount you spend on these expenses is used to reduce how much of your gross income, in other words, your total annual income, is actually subject to the income tax. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have $45,000 of total income and $4,000 of income adjustments. The income you need to pay federal tax on is now $41,000, right? $45,000 minus $4,000. So this value of $41,000, it's also your adjusted gross income, or AGI, which is then used to determine your eligibility for a few other deductions. And basically, after those deductions, you know how much income you actually have to pay income tax on. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation about Schedule 1, and now I want to give you line-by-line instructions. So at the top of Schedule 1 is a line for your Social Security number. So make sure you write your exact name and the exact same as the exact name you have on your Form 1040. So if you're filing jointly, write your names and Social Security numbers in the same order as on your 1040. And next, you need to check a box yes or no to actually indicate whether or not you sold, purchased, received, exchanged, or otherwise own any virtual currency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or XRP, Ripple during the year. And if you select no, you can continue to the rest of the form. Now, if you select yes, you may need to pay capital gains taxes. Very important. And the rest of the Schedule 1 here, as you can see on the screen here, is divided into two parts. So number 1 covers income you earned but didn't already report on your 1040, and the number 2 part covers adjustment to income. All right, you can see on the screen here, folks. So Line 1, you're writing the amount you earned from a tax refund, tax credit, or other offset for state and local income taxes. And the thing here is that if you have this type of income, you probably receive a 1099-G. And line 2 has two parts. So line 2A is for alimony or separate maintenance payments that you received in 2020 or earlier. On line 2B, you basically write the date that you entered into the payment agreement. And line 3 is where you write your any business income or loss that you had during the year. And one thing I want to say here is that you also need to attach Schedule C if you have anything to report on this line. Line 4 asks about other gains or losses. And this is any income or losses that you had during the year for the sale or trade of business property, including real estate. And you need to complete and attach Form 4797 as well. And if you have something to report on this line, your situation may also require other forms like Schedule D. Line 5 is for income you made from rental property, royalties, partnerships, S corporations, or trust. You also need to complete and attach Schedule E if you report income on this line. All right. And line 6 is for farm income. Again, don't forget to attach Schedule F as well. Line 7 is for reporting any unemployment compensation you received. And you should have also received a 1099-G with box 1 showing the total unemployment compensation you received during the year. And line 8 is for miscellaneous untaxed income you earned but did not report anywhere else on your tax return. And there's also a line where you can write an explanation of what the income is, right? Examples may include gambling winnings, prizes, awards, or jury duty pay. Okay, and if you are an Alaskan, you can actually report your Alaska Permanent Fund dividends. Please don't report any self-employment income on this line. All right, so what you want to do here, after you finish that, you just need to add up the incomes from the previous lines and write the sum on line 9. And this number also goes on line 7A of your 1040 or 1040 SR for seniors. I'm continuing here, folks. So this is where you're done with part 1. Now let's go with part 2. So part 2 covers, as I said earlier, any adjustment to your income. So adjustment, when you hear the word adjustment, it really means money you spent during the year that the federal government doesn't actually require you to pay tax on. So the amount you spend on these expenses reduces your taxable income for the year, and adjustments are only available for certain types of expenses like student loan interest. All right, so line 10, you can report on line 10 here. You can report educator expenses you paid during the year up to $250. And again, this includes things like books, classroom supplies, computer equipment, or other materials you pay for out of pocket. And you can also include the cost of professional development courses you took if they were related to the curriculum you teach. Line 11, you put business expenses you had if you are a government official and you or a performing artist or a reservist who traveled more than 100 miles from your home to perform reserve services. And also you may need to attach Form 2106 if you have expenses to report on this line. Line 12 is for the health savings account deduction or HSA deduction. And you can actually make this deduction if you made contributions to a health savings account outside of employer contributions, rollovers from other health accounts, and actually some contributions from a retirement account. And you also need to complete Form 8889. Line 13 is for any moving expenses that you incurred if you are a member of the U.S. Armed Forces or on active duty, and you had a permanent change of station, the PCS, due to military order. We actually completed an entire show on military tax deductions, so you want to double check that. And you must also complete and attach Form 3903. Line 14 allows for self-employed individuals to deduct half of the self-employment tax, and you need to attach Schedule SE. Line 15 allows self-employed individuals and small business owners to deduct the amount they paid into a self-employed SEP IRA, a simple IRA, or any other qualified plan for retirement. And line 16 is for the self-employment health insurance deduction. So If you're a self-employed individual, you can deduct 100% of health, dental, and long-term care insurance premiums that you paid for yourself, your spouse, your dependents, or any non-dependent children, any non-dependent child aged 26 or younger at the end of the year. And I want to say now on line 17, this is where you have to write in any penalty that you owe. As you can see right now on the screen, folks, we leave the form on the screen. So you need to write in any penalty you owe for the early withdrawal of savings. So a common example is early withdrawal penalties for a CD, as I said before. And penalties you can include on line 17 will be reported to you on a Form 1099 INT or Form 1099 OID. Line 18 allows you to exclude alimony payments you made as long as the divorce agreement took effect in 2020 or earlier. And the thing here is that there are three parts to this line. Lines 18A, can you see that? Line 18A is for the amount of alimony you paid. Line 18B is for the Social Security number of the payment recipients. And line 18C is for the date that your divorce agreement took effect. All right. Line 19 allows you to deduct contributions you made to a traditional IRA as long as, and this is a big as long as you made it with money you already paid income tax on. So a traditional IRA allows you to save money without paying income tax until you actually withdraw the money. So this deduction, if you really think about it, pays you back for the income taxes you already paid on your contribution. So if a contribution goes straight from your paycheck into your IRA without you ever paying tax, you cannot deduct it here. And one thing I want to, is as a reminder here, a Roth IRA contribution is not included here because Roths always require you to pay income tax first. Line 20 is for the student loan interest deduction. All right, and this allows you to deduct the amount of interest you paid on student loans up to $2,500, and there are income limits based on your filing status. And one thing I also want to say here is that line 21 allows you to reduce your taxable income by the amount you spend on tuition and fees for you, a spouse, or a dependent. And the amount you can actually deduct include any amount you've paid for 2020 and the first 3 months of 2021. And you'll also need to fill out and attach Form 8917. And moving on here, folks, we have line 22. This is where you kind of add up lines 10 through 21. And the sum is your total adjustment to income. And you should also write this amount on line 8A of your Form 1040. So, folks, here is the deal. So I kind of walked you through a Form Schedule 1. You understand now that it allows you to actually have an important impact and ideally positive impact on your tax debt. So it will reduce your tax liability. And so the key takeaways here are that Schedule 1 is the form where you report all your income that was not from bank interest, investment dividends, or wages reported on a W-2 from your employer. So any income that doesn't fall within the three categories I just said, then you can report that on Schedule 1. So that's for the first part of this takeaway. Then you have something called the adjustment to income. So this section basically helps you find your AGI, which then determines whether you are eligible for other deductions or not. Right? And you can tick the deductions on Schedule 1 regardless of whether you take the standard deduction or itemized deduction. This is where you have the concept of above the line deductions. So it doesn't matter whether you itemize, it doesn't matter whether you you itemize or take the standard deduction. It doesn't matter. And Schedule 1 was created in the 2017 tax reform, so its content used to be directly on Form 1040, but the tax reform of 2017 tried to simplify the whole process. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I want to thank you for your attention. It was great talking to you about Schedule 1. And so quickly, I just want to recap here. I spoke to you about what is Schedule 1, who needs to use Schedule 1, What income can you report on Schedule 1? What expenses can be used to adjust income? And how to fill out Schedule 1 line by line. Thank you for your attention. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.